It's Monday, October 4th. This is The Gateway. I'm Wayne Pratt. People who purchase gas in Missouri now pay 2.5 cents more a gallon compared to a week ago. It's the result of a tax hike that will slowly increase over the next 5 years. A rebate option is leading to some uncertainty over how much money the state will actually bring in.
We simply don't want to speculate and create expectations for things that may not occur until we have more clarity.
St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Kellogg reports on how much Missouri is planning to receive through the tax hike. Former Republican Congressman Todd Akin died late yesterday at his home in Wildwood. He was 74. As St. Louis Public Radio's Jason Rosenbaum reports, Akin was known for his socially conservative views and his ill-fated 2012 bid for the U.S. Senate.
Akin spent more than 20 years in the Missouri House and the U.S. House of Representatives. His congressional work primarily focused on military issues, but he was more known for his opposition to abortion rights.
And there's a sharp contrast between their vision and where they're going, and I believe where many of us that are heartland traditional Americans feel we should be going.
Akin's career came to a screeching halt about a decade ago. During his 2012 U.S. Senate campaign, Akin contended that rape victims' bodies could end pregnancies. He lost to then U.S. Senator Claire McCaskill in a landslide. Akin never ran for office again after 2012. He died after a long battle with cancer. I'm Jason Rosenbaum, St. Louis Public Radio.
A key Republican senator expects the GOP-controlled legislature to appropriate funding for Medicaid expansion next year. Missouri started the process of enrolling the working poor into Medicaid last week. But Governor Mike Parson says the legislature needs to give his administration authority to spend federal money for expansion. Senator Bill White of Joplin says he does not like the Supreme Court decision that upheld Medicaid expansion, but adds there's not much lawmakers can do about it now.
It's the decision that's out there right now, so we're going to have to live with it, and ultimately we will have to do the appropriation. We may have long, drawn-out voicing on the floor of how we don't like it, but, we're going to kind of be stuck with it.
White made those comments on Politically Speaking. That episode is posted at stlpr.org. Members of the Illinois General Assembly will go back to Springfield this month, this time to draw new boundary lines for the state's congressional districts. As Hannah Meisel reports, lawmakers are kicking off hearings on the maps this week.
Democrats, who control the General Assembly, already approved new legislative maps for state lawmakers earlier this year, fulfilling their once-per-decade redistricting duties. Unlike those maps, which face a pair of challenges in federal court, Democrats waited for official U.S. Census data to start drawing new congressional lines. Illinois is losing a seat in Congress, but Democrats in Washington are leaning on blue states like Illinois and New York to redistrict in a way that preserves Democratic control of the U.S. House. Out of the 17 congressional seats Illinois will have, Democrats are looking at whittling away as much GOP territory as possible, which could mean drawing only 4 or even 3 safe Republican districts. I'm Hannah Meisel.
Illinois residents who are behind on their rent or utility payments have another way to get help. This follows yesterday's expiration of the state's eviction moratorium. The Illinois Department of Human Services is working with faith-based organizations to get financial assistance to communities hit hardest by COVID-19. The Quad City Community Development Center in Madison is one of those groups. Yolanda Crockroll is the center's executive director.
At this point, we're getting a lot of people that are in need. We've gotten clients that applied 6 months ago for rental assistance and haven't gotten anything.
Crockroll says a single applicant can receive 3 months back rent and 3 months forward up to $25,000. Her organization can help with applications through June 2022. The Cardinals' wildcard matchup is set. They will take on the Dodgers in Los Angeles on Wednesday. It's a one-game play-in for a playoff series. The winner will take on San Francisco, which won 107 games this season. The Dodgers won 106. The Cardinals won 90. Including a franchise record 17 in a row. People buying gas in Missouri now pay more thanks to a fuel tax hike that went into effect last Friday. As St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Kellogg reports, it could take years to see tangible results from the increase.
In late May, the Missouri legislature did something that hadn't been done in well over 2 decades. It increased how much people pay at the pump. The gas tax in Missouri used to be 17 cents per gallon, one of the lowest in the country. Now it has increased to 19.5 cents per gallon, and it will continue to rise by 2.5 cents each July before it reaches its final tax rate of 29.5 cents per gallon in July of 2025. In total, that will be a raise of 12.5 cents. Republican Representative Becky Ruth of Jefferson County sponsored the bill in the House. She defended the legislation during an hours-long debate.
Throughout every corner of the state, there are projects lined up, but we just need the money.
As to what those new projects may be, the state already has a plan for that, and it's called the High Priority Unfunded Needs List. The list consists of around $2.5 billion of identified but unfunded transportation needs. The list itself is broken up further into two tiers, with Tier 1 projects likely to be on the short list for when the state begins to see that new funding. Tier 1 has 63 projects at an estimated cost of $539 million, and of those projects, 7 of them are within St. Louis and its surrounding counties and are estimated to cost a little less than $200 million. Tom Blair is the St. Louis district engineer for the Missouri Department of Transportation. He says one of the proposed projects involves work on a section of Interstate 270 in North St. Louis County that is currently only 2 lanes in each direction.
So this is a very narrow bottleneck that we have not been able to secure the funds for yet. And we're really excited about having the opportunity to possibly secure those funds and turn that into reality.
Another project on the short list labeled as major interstate reconstruction would reconfigure access to St. Louis Lambert Airport on Interstate 70. The Department of Transportation works with local planning partners across the state to determine what transportation needs exist and require attention. For the St. Louis region, that organization is East-West Gateway Council of Governments. Jerry Blair is the Director of Transportation Planning for East-West Gateway. He says the organization is responsible for creating 2 plans.
The long-range plan gives kind of the large vision for the region, and then the Transportation Improvement Program is kind of the implementation arm of that.
Though some of these immediate needs have already been identified, that doesn't mean they're close to beginning construction or even close to being funded. They have to make it on the state's established 5-year improvement program. According to MoDOT's Tom Blair, the department reevaluates the plan once a year, and it was most recently updated in July. He says the earliest these unfunded projects could appear on the plan would be in the next edition, which he hopes will be next July. As to how much of the unfunded projects would appear on the plan, part of that lies on how much money the state is going to receive. Once the tax is fully implemented 5 years from now, the state could receive an estimated $500 million in additional revenue annually. 15% of that would each go to the state's cities and counties, as well as some going to the Department of Revenue. That theoretically leaves around $350 million for the Department of Transportation. However, nobody knows exactly how much extra funding this gas tax increase will accumulate. One of the main reasons why is a new rebate option. Under the new tax hike, people who buy gas in Missouri can elect to go through a rebate process. Some lawmakers in support of the option said it was a way for Missourians and others paying for gas in the state to vote on whether they wanted their money to go towards Missouri's roads on a yearly basis. Jerry Blair says East-West Gateway is hesitant to make plans on this new revenue because of a lack of certainty on how much the state will receive. Possible funding from a not yet passed federal infrastructure bill is also a factor.
We simply don't want to speculate and create expectations for things that may not occur until we have more clarity.
MoDOT Director Patrick McKenna says the state is being conservative with its estimates and are right now preparing for 20% of total money accumulated through gas tax sales to return to the consumer. McKenna says it will likely take a few years for the state to have a good grip on how much new funding to expect on an annual basis. Meanwhile, he'd rather plan on working with less than more.
If I was to not project any of that rebate into the plan, we might over-program our construction program and get communities thinking that a particular project is going to start, say, next year, and if the revenue doesn't come in, it may not be able to.
Ultimately, while drivers are paying more now, it's going to take time until they see the results on the road. For St. Louis Public Radio, I'm Sarah Kellogg.
Our Fred Ehrlich edited that report. Shula Newman is the executive editor of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri, St. Louis. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Wayne Pratt. This has been The Gateway.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.